Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our morning news brief about what is happening in the Middle East. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has actually given what we call a press briefing about what is happening in the Middle East. And in his press briefing, Antonio Guterres has actually talked about three issues that must be taken into consideration to avoid a poor-prone crisis in the Middle East. Antonio Guterres has actually addressed that the crisis in the Middle East must not be allowed to spill over, because if it will be allowed to spill over, it means that in the Middle East we are going to have a full-blown conflict or war in the whole or the entire Middle East. And he has actually addressed what is happening from the side of Lebanon. And missiles were actually fired from the side of Lebanon into Israel. And Antonio Guterres has asked leaders from the Lebanon to talk with leaders of Israel so that we can avoid the spillover of the war. Antonio Guterres has also talked about the humanitarian aid which must be allowed to be offered to the people of the Palestinian in the Gaza Strip. He has urged Israel that it must allow the basic commodities to reach the people of the Gaza Strip. For example, the people of Gaza must be allowed to access food. They must be allowed to access water, and they must be allowed to access electricity. And also, they must be allowed to access healthcare. Antonio Guterres has also urged Israel that it must not bombard schools, healthcare facilities with missiles, because that is against the United Nations Charter. And also, Antonio Guterres has actually addressed about the hostage who were actually taken by the Hamas group in the Gaza Strip. He has urged Hamas to allow all the hostages to go back to their families without any condition, and that must be done with an immediate effect. Please listen to the press briefing of Antonio Guterres, how he addressed the press. Please listen to this carefully.
All right, good afternoon. The Secretary General will make some remarks, and then I will do the briefing after that. Sir.
Good afternoon. I've been closely following dramatic events in Israel and Gaza. I will never forget the images of this supercharged cycle of violence and horror. I'm in continuous contact with leaders in the region with an immediate focus on several key priorities. We must avoid spillover of the conflict. I am concerned about the recent exchange of fire along the Blue Line and recent reported attacks from southern Lebanon. I appeal to all parties and those who have an influence over those parties to avoid any further escalation and spillover. I call for the immediate release of all Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Civilians must be protected at all times International humanitarian law must be respected and upheld. About 220,000 Palestinians are now sheltered in 92 UNRWA facilities across Gaza. UN premises and all hospitals, schools and clinics must never be targeted. UN staff are working around the clock to support the people of Gaza, and I deeply regret that some of my colleagues have already paid the ultimate price. Crucial life-saving supplies, including fuel, food and water, must be allowed into Gaza. We need rapid and unimpeded humanitarian access now. I want to thank Egypt for its constructive engagement to facilitate humanitarian access through the Rafah crossing and to make the El Arish airport available for critical assistance. There is no time to lose. Every moment counts. Thank you.
Should Israel stop